IT is like hardcore was back then. It's IT is in right now. There are 10,000 fields in IT. But at that time, तो मैंने इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम्स में मास्टर्स करने की सोचा मैंने. So I did my master's from Melbourne Uni. So that was a big achievement for me, personally speaking. Getting into the university, applying for it, getting into the university, and then sticking it out for 2 years. That was a merely achievement. I take this as personal achievement for myself, because it did not just help me grow as a person. Career wise, it helped me, open my mind up. कि यार marketing तो चलो है, सब पढ़ते हैं, everybody does business, everybody does economics.
Hello, welcome to the Future Podcast series. Today we plan to talk to Mr. Ibrahim Fakhruddin and delve into the studies and work opportunities in Australia. Mr. Ibrahim Fakhruddin is a graduate of Melbourne University, having completed his master's in information systems and then pursuing a very successful career at Optus Telecommunications before returning back to Pakistan and joining his family business and working here for the past 2.5 years. We hope to learn the social impacts and the reasons behind making certain life decisions of studying in Australia, what it means to be in Australia, the ground realities, how to find work opportunities, how to make decisions as you go along, and ensuring that during this entire journey, you do not look back and you continue to look forward. So we would like to welcome Mr. Ibrahim Fakhruddin to our podcast today. Assalamu alaikum, Ibrahim. How are you?
Walaikum salam, how are you doing?
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Not a problem.
So we understand that you've spent almost 1/3 of your life in Australia, and we were very keen to know more about it. I understand back in 2010 you went to Australia for your studies. So what prompted the decision to study abroad?
So I was doing my undergrad over here at CBM. उसके बाद जब एकदम से मुझे flashback आया कि यार I have to like start going places perhaps. मेरे पास I didn't have any option. I wanted to go to Canada, UK or USA. बहुत options थे उस वक्त. लेकिन जब ऑस्ट्रेलिया का आया, my only concern was that I have no family there at that time. उस वक्त I think family friends थे मेरे काफ़ी, और but my dad was always eager कि आप you go to Canada, you go to perhaps you go to the States, जहाँ पे थोड़ी family है, you have a little bit of we know where you're going, right? Australia में there was nobody else, so मेरा concern obviously education था. I had to move out of the country, not because of उस वक्त हालात ख़राब थे, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं था, but for better opportunities. I was 21 when I moved to Australia for education purpose. And I got myself enrolled into an undergrad course at Trobe University. 2010 की बात है. It seems a mile away. तो जब मैं Melbourne land हुआ था, it was a rainy day. It was raining for about a week there. My university started about इसको खोलने में सिर्फ 2 weeks और बाकी थे. But then I knew nobody over there. वहाँ पे the closest family I had at that time was my family friend. मेरे cousin के उसके husband के भाई वहाँ पे थे उस वक्त. So the decision to go over there was spontaneous. It was can I challenge myself? Can I be what I want to be in the next 10 years? And to see if that's the place for me.
So just to sort of put this into perspective, when you say this has been almost 13 years, तो हमारे उस टाइम में communication channels भी इतने efficient नहीं थे जो अब हैं.
Yeah.
And right now, especially in terms of information access for education, for options to study abroad across the world, वो बहुत ज़्यादा available है, and it's much better defined.
Of
So I
course.
think at that time, making this decision to study something in a foreign country, especially with not having people there, can definitely be overwhelming. So again, if I'd like to sort of work towards talking a little bit about those first 6 months, because I think that is really where things are the most interesting.
Yes.
And when I say interesting, it can mean overwhelming, challenging, stressful, very exciting, um, an exploration stage, if you will.
Of course.
So, looking back, uh, how did you find those initial months where you were obviously adapting to a new culture, trying to fit in, and doing all of that?
मुझे अभी तक याद है द फर्स्ट टाइम मेलबर्न जब लैंड हुआ था, मुझे मेरी यूनिवर्सिटी की गाड़ी पिक करना आई थी एयरपोर्ट पे. इट वाज अ स्मॉल कार, ड्रोव मी टू द हॉस्टल में ले गई मुझे. मैंने अकोमोडेशन हॉस्टल में लिया हुआ था उस वक्त. जब मैंने हॉस्टल में अकोमोडेशन लिया हुआ था तो यूनिवर्सिटी खुलने में 2 वीक्स बाकी थे. सो द इन्फ्लक्स ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स वाज नॉट देयर. द यूनिवर्सिटी कैंपस वाज एब्सोल्युटली एम्प्टी. मेरे अपने हॉस्टल के अंदर तकरीबन 2 से 3 लोग होंगे मैक्सिमम. Challenges, yes. Biggest challenge for me at that time was finding halal food. So I was basically living on Oreos, milk, bananas for over a week. I'm not kidding. You're coming to a country which is super expensive. You don't realize the fact that now you're here. पढ़ाई तो करनी है क्योंकि आप पैसे भर दिए, और पढ़ाई के साथ दोस्त बनाने के साथ आपको you have to have a good time, learn their art, their culture, and then all of that combined with our religious aspects like going to mosque, going for prayers, it was very hard. The first 6 months were very challenging, but those 6 months were the best time of my life. जो मैंने टाइम उस 6 months पे निकाला है, ईयर मैक्सिमम, जो मैंने लर्निंग्स की उस ईयर के अंदर, जो मैंने दोस्त बनाए उस 1 साल के अंदर. बिकॉज आपको क्या होता है कि आप जाओ वहाँ पढ़ाई करो, जॉब करो, एनी जॉब यू कैन फाइंड. जॉब करने के बाद आपको लगता है कि अर्न सम काइंड ऑफ मनी, एंड देन आई यूज्ड टू डू 2 jobs a day. After my university classes used to end, I used to come home at 8-9 o'clock, have my typical dinner, a bread or a roti with some curry and rice every single day for a year, because I'm on a budget, right? I still have that diary where I've written down what my daily budget was. ये सब challenges face करके, now I look back at it and I'm thinking, wow, like you've done it. Like budgeting, yes, checked. Living on a small income, yes, checked. Finding halal food in that income, yes, checked. So the roots have been so strong now कि अब मुझे बोले ना कि if I would like to go back, it'll be a piece of cake for me because मैंने वो time निकाल लिया है. So yes, to answer your question, it was hard but very rewarding for me.
I always share a food analogy with my students के आप इसको इस तरीके से समझे कि you have this huge variety of different cuisines that are available to eat, but आप practically देखें तो even if you go to a buffet that will have 50 dishes, you're probably going to try 7 or 8.
Exactly.
And so if you draw from that understanding, then you must also back yourself in terms of making the decision. बाज़ दफ़ा क्या होता है कि वो uncertainty रहती है कि मुझे कनाडा चूज करना चाहिए था, मुझे ऑस्ट्रेलिया चूज करना चाहिए था, मुझे जाना चाहिए था, नहीं जाना चाहिए था, and those things can continue to prevail, and especially which this can get more relevant when people arrive in their at their destinations, at their universities, and at the sign of the first challenge, they start second guessing their decision कि यार यहाँ पे तो ये बहुत challenges है, इससे अच्छा तो मुझे चले आना था उस यूनिवर्सिटी में, मुझे उस शहर चले आना था या उस कंट्री चले आना था. तो बहुत ज़रूरी है कि yes, back yourself, trust your gut, and once you've made a decision, then filter out the noise.
Exactly.
And that's very, very important. So I agree with you there. I'd like to now shift our discussion to the academic side of things. So I understand you went for an undergraduate four-year
Yes.
program. So what was it like in terms of the education experience after having completed high school in Pakistan? You were going there. तो जो expectation थी एक sense था कि ये चीज़ होगी वहाँ पे. तो did it sort of come at par, exceed it, or perhaps left something wanting?
मुझे हमेशा से एक कैंपस पे पढ़ने का बहुत शौक था. So even here when I was in CBM, it's a bigger campuses than normal, right? तो जब मैं लट्रोब में लट्रोब, I was in the Bandura campus in Melbourne. It was the biggest campus in Melbourne, university wise. और मुझे इतना मजा आया. It basically not because it's a great campus. उसकी facilities, उसके staff, teachers, जो support मुझे वहाँ पे मिला on a personal level, let's say on the dean level, on my academic level, हर function, हर department ने मुझे इतना help किया है to be where I wanted to be. अगर मुझे कोई कोर्स समझ नहीं आ रहा तो उन्होंने मुझे सपोर्ट किया कि भाई it's okay, hang in there, let's see what happens, and if it's not working out we'll change your course. तो वो कोर्स चेंज, by course I mean subject, sorry, चेंज करने में बहुत हेल्प किया. and the expectation versus reality की आप सवाल करते हैं तो expectation was that again I'm a person who does my homework, right? तो I knew exactly what I was signing up for. जब मैं campus land हुआ, huge campus, huge facilities, huge auditoriums, huge classrooms, जिसमें एक क्लास में 500 लोग पढ़ रहे हैं, huge projectors. तो I mean मेरे लिए तो सब नया है. I have not studied like this in Karachi, so for me that was completely new. And the experience was amazing. And I have been recommending that university to a lot of students as well. If you want a wholesome experience, go to La Trobe because it's a pretty decent university. Usme they provide on-campus accommodations and also it's a lot of fun to be on campus. आपकी सुबह 8 बजे classes होती हैं. Classes happen in the evening as well. So the mix and match. You have time in the middle, so spend some time with your friends. Go in the city. It was such a big campus that all the, let's say, the transport was also in-house. Buses were coming in from the campus to the city. आप 1 किलोमीटर बाहर walk कर लें. All the grocery supermarkets are there. उसके बाद the trams to the city. So it was a very well-placed campus itself. And जो मैंने expect किया था बिल्कुल वैसे ही मुझे वहाँ पे मिला. And I was very, very, very happy with whatever I had over there. Okay. In terms of my education, the standards, the teachers, the faculty itself, बहुत ज़बरदस्त था. And उसके अलावा बाकी चीज़ें तो होती हैं आपकी, sports होते हैं. You get involved in sports like footy. वहाँ की local sport है footy. It's like basketball. तो वो हमने it was a wonderful time over there.
Viewers are very keen to hear about that because predominantly जो हमारी बातें होती हैं तो स्टूडेंट्स के साथ उसमें यही होता है कि ठीक है सर आप ये कोर्स बता रहे हैं, ये यूनिवर्सिटी बता रहे हैं, हमने पढ़ाई कर ली, फिर what happens next? Will we get a job? Will we be able to stay back? हमारे क्या opportunities होंगी? जॉब मिलेगी, काम मिलेगा, रहेंगे? Obviously long term intent होते हैं certain students के कि वहीं settle होना है, तो क्या ये चीज़ मिलेगी? All is fine, the university is good, everything's good, but what happens next? So that's definitely something we want to talk about. And as we move into that conversation, I'd like you to talk a little bit about how your education, which, as you mentioned, was very holistic in terms of learning.
Yes.
How did your particular education help you in terms of preparing you for your career in terms of your skill development, in terms of your knowledge. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Now, then I did my research that, okay, what is the field I have to go to keep staying there, keep staying in Australia? I did my research at that time, and उस वक्त IT की field बहुत in थी. Now, IT is like a hardcore was back then. It's IT is in right now. There are 10,000 fields in IT. But at that time, तो मैंने information systems में masters करने की सोचा मैंने. So I did my masters from Melbourne Uni.
Yeah.
So that was a big achievement for me, personally speaking. Getting into the university, applying for it, getting into the university, and then sticking it out for 2 years. That was a merely achievement. I take this as personal achievement for myself, because it did not just help me grow as a person. Career-wise, it helped me, open my mind up. कि यार marketing तो चलो है, सब पढ़ते हैं. Everybody does business. Everybody does economics. But what about IT? So my brother-in-law at that time, he advised me we should go into IT. So I applied, I got in, and I spent 2 years at Melbourne University doing a course called Masters of Information Systems. वो course में it was more of a management course rather than hardcore programming. What to expect in terms of project management skills, आपको how to support a programming industry or a telecommunications industry. Now from that, जब मैंने वो course खत्म किया masters का, the struggle only happens जब आपको you yourself should know it's not easy. At any level, it's not easy. आप जाके बात करें कि मैं ऐसे मेरा हो जाएगा and then I'm going to do this. It's never the case. 99% of the time, you will fall back. And once you fall back, you should have a plan A, B, C, D ready. Thankfully, I did have a plan B at that time. Let's say you finish your master's, you've already made connections. You already spent 3-4 years in a country. You already understood their customs and their ways of working and what to do, what not to do, how to speak the slang language, for example. ये सब करने के बाद, comfortable हो गया, apply किया residency के लिए, and then I just stuck it out. It took me a while, I'll be honest. It was not a rosy picture for me. कि आपने बोला कि मैंने masters undergrad कर लिया, तो बेटा apply कर लो. Start applying for your residency and then see where it lands. यहाँ पे misconception लोगों का यही है कि मैंने course किया, I spent X amount of money on that course. How will the course give me benefit at the later stage? Course तो कर लिया, मैंने let's say इतने लाख रुपए लगा लिए. उसके बाद क्या? How does that help you lead to your, let's say, the next steps? If you want to stay in the country, you should be prepared to spend and give your hard time. अगर आप prepared नहीं हो वो time देने के लिए, then you should probably head back because it's going to be challenging. Then onwards, right? The chances of you getting a job after your graduation is, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very hard. क्योंकि एक यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर अगर आप स्ट्रेंथ देखें तो 10 से 15 से 20 हजार बच्चे पढ़ रहे होते हैं. एक कोर्स के अंदर हजारों लोग पढ़ रहे होते हैं. You have to be really exceptional to get that offer or to land a job, right? You need to have an exceptional GPA to land a job. If you don't have that exceptional GPA, then you have to still work hard, right? You can't just quit and say that मुझसे नहीं होगा. People lose hope right there. मैंने पढ़ाई कर ली, I've given IELTS, मैंने सब कुछ दे दिया, अब क्यों नहीं हो रहा मेरा, And that is where I know a guy who's given, just for the citizenship, I know a guy who's given this IELTS or /PTE about 30 times.
Wow.
Before he could make it. तो एफर्ट तो करनी पड़ेगी आपको. अगर आपको उस तरफ जाना है, you want to succeed, you want to stay there and you want to say कि this is my country now, effort तो करनी पड़ेगी. There is nothing without hard work or effort. I'll re-emphasize this later on, but जितना भी you need to be focused, very focused. अगर आप focus आपने जरा सा भी sway कर लिया, तो I mean it's a very big problem for you.
So now on to the big question.
Yes.
So you were obviously one of the few who actually made it through. So you did your education and then you found a way to realize your dream. आपने कहा कि your intent was very clear. You wanted to make it in for the long term, and
Yes.
you did.
Yes.
And while we talk about the aspects of why you came back, and for good reason, but before that, you made it. So looking back, what key factors do you attribute your success to in terms of finding the job, and obviously then having a very stable career that just enabled you to wait it out and get your passport and get everything done?
So the moment I finished my masters, उसके बाद the job hunting started, because I was on a 2-year temporary visa or work visa, I would say it. The clock starts ticking. There's no option. अब तो पढ़ाई खत्म हो गई, अब क्या करना है ये बताओ. So I did contacted a few of my family friends over there. उन्होंने मुझे बहुत support किया. My sister was there as well. उनके husband ने बहुत support किया. And then you asked me what kept me going is basically my plan from the beginning. Now, if you're a guy like me, I plan everything out. By that, I mean that I landed in Australia in 2010. I came back in 21. That's 11 years, right? So I spent over a decade there, as you mentioned earlier, in Australia. अगर वो मेरा प्लान नहीं होता from the beginning कि मुझे करना है, मेरा focus नहीं होता, I wouldn't have worked hard and I wouldn't have stuck it out. It took me 8 years to get my residency sorted out. Normally, it takes less time because consultants and consultants help and guide जो child होता है उसको भाई कि आप if you follow this path, you'll get your citizenship earlier. मैंने कुछ follow नहीं किया था. So I did my own thinking कि अच्छा ये कर लो फिर वो कर लो. And then the plan was again to stick it out, right? Hard work, determination, and trust in yourself that you can do it. 8 years के बाद जब मेरा वो call आई कि आप now you can apply for your permanent residency, I was very happy because my wife also was with me. तो जो journey है हमने साथ की है. She was there when I was a student. She was there when I was on work visa. She was there when I was applying for my permanent residency. She was there through it all. So the journey, it's so encouraging and so rewarding कि I was not alone. मैंने जो फैसले लिए, जो choices मैंने ली, वो मैंने अकेले नहीं ली, मैंने साथ मिल के लिए with my family. And that really helped me in guiding me, do this. It's better for everybody. Do this. It's right. It's the right choice, right? और जो वो मैंने steps लिए, I still remember living in a shared room in a house with my friends, or that's the university life. I mean, if you believe me, I've changed about 14 to 15 house locations in 10 years. That's a lot. उसके बाद अगर आप if you look in terms of your career, my career, I've changed about odd jobs सब मिला के about 12 13 jobs in the span of 8 to 10 years. तो ये सब किया तो I got the exposure that and I'm still in contact with all my friends. सब दोस्तों से बात होती है. that's still my other home, I would say. The friends will always remain, their family as well. Yes, so the hardest thing to do is have faith in yourself, trust that you can do this, work hard. And ये जो बातें हम सब बोलते रहते हैं, everybody who asks me a question, what was the choices you made? It's just hard work. करना है तो करना है. There is no other alternate. अगर आप नहीं करोगे, A, you spend so much money, B, you spend so much time. So what? After 6 years, you want to come back because you couldn't make it? That's not a right answer for me, at least for me. So अगर मैंने time spend किया, I invested money. So it made my choice a bit easier. कि यार अब तो करना ही है. And that got me through the entire process, you know. And I cherish it, to be honest. Now, looking back, you know, it's been like, 13 years now, looking back. I cherish those times.
Good to know. So, Ibrahim, I'd like you to now talk a little bit about your particular career and the factors that led you to your first successful job in Australia, your full-time job, in an area of your expertise.
Yes.
And again, in the interest of educating our audience, perhaps outline the factors that you feel were relevant in terms of getting through that initial process, because the first job is the toughest one to get, and then you're obviously using that one to move on to the other one if you choose to do so.
Yeah.
So what factors do you feel did the company consider in enabling them to select you for a job, I believe, in a telecom company?
Yes. So my first full-time job was at a pharmaceutical company. I'm sure we've heard the name AbbVie Pharma. Uski sister company thi Abbott. So Abbott hired me for first full-time position. It was a 7 or 8 month contract. And then, so my function and my role was to basically, as a business analyst, क्योंकि मैंने वो पढ़ाई की भी थी masters के अंदर, so my skills were relevant to that, what they were looking for. So I was working under the IT manager of that time, and creating a website for them for skin disease at that time. Psoriasis की skin disease थी, उस पे research की, उस पे मैंने जो मेरे fact finding. So business analyst is basically somebody who does fact finding within a company. So जब मैंने वो किया, you ask what skills they look for. They look for your attitude. They look for literally they look for कि आपके पास, every fresh graduate के पास job नहीं होती. वो दुनिया में आप कहीं भी चले जाएं, a person who is a fresh graduate will have internships, will have local experience, not a proper job. He or she would have a part-time odd jobs, but not a professional job. तो किसी से सवाल करना कि, you know, for example, what experience do you have? आपके पास क्या experience है जो आप दे सकते हो? We'll only share what we've done in our education. So it's a given. We will not share, you know, हमने इस company में job की हुई है, because as you said, landing the first job is the hardest. तो जब मैंने वो first job land की as a business analyst at Abbott, तो you know, the fact finding mission था मेरा, successfully मैंने implement किया उसको. Websites मैंने एक up and running मैंने website की, I did the programming on the back end. It's more or less what you are as a person and what you can give to the company, rather than your skills at that time, because skills तो आपने education पे ले लिया आपके पास वो skill set तो हमेशा होता है. You know, testing those skills, you know, that is where you take help of a company, or, you know, how would you nurture those skills into a professional career? That's important. आपने पढ़ लिया, skills acquire कर ली, अब implement तो करनी है ना, execution तो करना है ना. In many instances, people also find jobs or first jobs are not within the fields. तो वो लोग जहाँ मर्जी उनको job मिल जाती है, they're happy with it, because as you said, the mindset remains that you have to stay in the country. Now, to stay in the country, you will do whatever it takes. आप कब तक support लेंगे back home से? Financial support, moral support, ethical support. You have to be independent at some point, right? आपने पढ़ाई कर ली, अब तो जॉब करनी है ना भाई, या बिजनेस करना है या जॉब करना है, दो तो ऑप्शन होते हैं. So my first job, which was a contract, after it ended, then I found another opportunity within a month after finishing my first full-time role, was in a telecommunication industry. So my second job was at a telecommunication industry called Optus, company Optus. Australia में 3 largest telecom providers हैं: Telstra, Optus, and Vodafone. So I was working with a company who supported Optus at that time. Again, I started off as a business analyst because वो मेरी relevant field थी. उसके बाद I did a year of staying as a BA. From there onwards, I switched to project management. Project management in 5 years मैंने की. So basically reporting directly under the PMO at that time, handling Optus's clients. Basically what my function was, not to sit at a desk and लेकिन वो जो relevant आपके experience है, आप जो gain करते हो over the span of, let's say, all your internships and initial life of your career, you have to implement it somewhere, right? तो जहाँ पे जब मैं इस कंपनी में second job मैंने apply किया, तो alhamdulillah I stuck it out for about 6 years over there. And before I resigned to come to Pakistan, I was there.
I think we've discussed sort of all the factors really, and I'll really like to thank you in terms of taking a very social, philosophical look at the journey, and it's a very good way of looking at things. Generally, these conversations tend to be a little more technical in terms of how did you meet the requirements, and
Exactly.
generally natural tendencies hoti hain ki ye kiya maine ye kiya. But I think what you've done today, and we appreciate that, is that you've given a social aspect, the sort of the perspective of making these life decisions, and that's very important to us as well. The work that we do, we want to ensure that we provide information with perspective, because baaz dafa yahi hota hai, I think at the age of 18, when someone wants to go for undergrad, and this I can't say uh, you know this is something that keeps happening, is that they feel that this is a journey that will just work out. And what you've done today here is provide that very close perspective on how these things unravel over time, and how you need to persevere, and how you need to be resilient, how you need to make sure that you continue to maintain control, you continue to persist and manage this journey. So thank you so much, Ibrahim, for joining us today. It was lovely talking to you and hearing about your journey, and we hope that our audience is able to learn from you as well. If you have any final thoughts, please do share those with us.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure being over here and speaking to you over here. And I wish you guys all the best, because you're doing a great job informing कि decisions कैसे लेने हैं. Students के लिए बहुत important होता है कि भाई वो सही जगह जाके hit करे, सही लोगों से बात करे. Informed choices are better than no choices. So that's what you guys are doing. So great job. Hats off to you as well. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.